Come on in, bestie. Welcome to StoryPod, where we do the doing of story development together. Brought to you by Creative BFF. Hello, bestie. Listen, we're jumping right in. No introduction, no like little teaser part. Words, listen, after work special. You know what that means. We're just going to jump right in because I wouldn't know how to introduce this anyway. So for today, I just want to chat a little bit. I'm a little tired behind the eyes, you know? Why? I didn't go to the gym today because it was a rest day, but I feel like that affected my energy output. So, just kind of want to do a little chatty chat. Not really a chat. I am going to answer 2 short Reddit questions. But anyway, I've already been chatting for too long before telling you that my name is Ashley. I am your creative BFF. This is the StoryPod podcast. Usually and typically, and we're going to kind of do it today too. Usually what we're doing here is we are basically in this storytelling gym. We are flexing our storytelling muscles. We're doing some lifting. Is it heavy lifting? Are we going to failure? Not today. Today we're doing maintenance level weights. Okay. And you know what? Sometimes that's how it has to be. We all have real lives. Anyway, if you would like help with your story, or if you have a question that I can answer here on the podcast so that I don't always have to go to Reddit to answer questions, because I really want to answer your question for your story, you can reach out to me at the links below. I have them all there for you. Let's chop it up. You know what I'm saying? I think that the best way to reach out to me probably is going to be the Instagram DM for right now, because that's kind of where I am. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I hope you're all well on this beautiful Friday. Okay. Let's jump into the first short question. Now for this one, I did jot down some notes a little bit, and I find sorry for shaking the screen. Sorry for shaking the camera. I find that does help me on these nights when perhaps my brain is not firing as quickly as I would like it to, because we don't drink coffee in the evening because we're trying to sleep in a few hours. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm talking too much. So for the first question, it is from the r/fantasy writers subreddit by Gus the Ogre King. How to plot. Discussion about a general writing topic. I find myself constantly creating more world building material. New monsters for this project, or new superhumans for that one, new plants and animals, new spells, etc. ad nauseum. But I can never land on a plot that I like, nor can I write anything that I don't immediately hate and want to delete and start over. I have tried to create a storyline that I like, but all I have to show for it are lists and more lists. How do you get yourself to do the work of making the actual story without forcing it and making something you don't even like? I know it's kind of a general question, but if you guys have any words of advice for a perpetual builder and never plotter, I sure would appreciate it. Thanks for any replies. So I did have a few thoughts, and they kind of are in 2 general categories: solo and collaborative. So my first kind of solo thought, and I think about it from now this person is not me, okay? Obviously. So what I like and what works for me may not work for them. So I have a range of different kind of suggestions. A few of them that may be heretical advice to give a writer or someone who wants to write. But the first one that I would probably go to is to try to find characters within these worlds that you are building that you genuinely are interested in, that you love, that you want to know more about them, that excite you. I think that that's going to help make it more interesting, right? Because the story is about the character, right? The world is the playground that the character is in, and it's an important playground. We need that. But stories are ultimately about characters and their journey. So try to pull out some characters, try to see, can I plant somebody in here that I'm interested in. Who might fit in here, and whose story would I be interested in following? Think about the stories that you consume when you're not writing, right? What games are you playing? What books are you reading? So on and so forth, comic books and things like that. And what types of characters are you drawn to? And like, create those types of characters for your story. Don't like totally rip somebody's character off. Obviously, make it more unique. There's nothing new under the sun. But, you know, do your best to kind of make them unique, but use an archetype that you tend to find yourself liking to read about. And go ahead and create a story with that type of archetype of a character, archetypical character in your world. So that's my first thought as a solo endeavor. My second solo endeavor suggestion, and this one might be heretical, is maybe restructure the work that you're doing, redirect the type of work that you're creating. There's no rule that says that you have to create a literary story with these worlds. There's no rule that says now you have to write a novel or create a comic or whatever. And I have found quite a lot of interest in different types of books. And I read a book one time where I just jumped ahead and didn't tell you what I'm suggesting. Let me rewind. What I'm suggesting is perhaps create a fantasy encyclopedia of your world, an encyclopedia that would be giving information about your world, right? Maybe write it from the perspective of a researcher from that world. What are the ideas? Write a grimoire. Is this the correct type of media? Write a grimoire of the fantastic beasts that inhabit your various worlds. Create a Dungeons and Dragons like guidebook. Maybe not specifically Dungeons and Dragons, but like create a guidebook for your world that could be something that people who like to do tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons types games, can use to play in your world. You know, write the backstories and things of some of the superhumans that you have created. You know, it doesn't have to be a novel. It doesn't have to be a 3-act structure story. If what you love to do is the world building, will structure your work in that way. And what I was saying before is I've read a book and I can't remember the name of the person, the name of the author. I think they also illustrated it. It was a very beautifully illustrated book describing different types of creatures in the world of the Fae. And you may, dear viewer, know what I'm talking about. I wish I could remember, but it wasn't really a story. You know what? There might have been, I hope I'm not confusing two different stories, but I remember reading one that was kind of a mysterious light story. I do think that it did describe, here's what I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I think that this author may have created two, maybe more, but two books in the same series. One that was kind of mysteriously telling the story, I think, of a woman or a girl who disappears into the land of the Fae because, you know, I guess fairies just loved her or whatever. And then I think that they also did a book where they were doing like a guidebook of the different types of creatures, kind of like a video game book that would or a wiki for a video game that would tell you the strengths and the weaknesses and the proclivities of certain beasts in that game. I think they made a book where that was what they did. Whoa, words, forgive me. Was that struggle is real. They created a book that basically that was what it was, but for fairies. Okay, let's just move on to the next sentence. So that could be something that you decide to create if your love is world building. Now for the collaborative stuff is you could find a writing partner who, now this is easier said than done. We're not all blessed to have people in our lives that just like to do the same thing, and write and create and things like that. If not, perhaps you can get on a Reddit and things like that and say, I'm looking for a writing partner, or get into some writing groups and things like that, and see if you can strike up a relationship, a friendship with someone who loves to do the things that you don't like to do. Or perhaps another one is maybe you could sell, offer this as a service for writers who don't like to do world building, where they can give you like a general idea of the type of world that they want to be in, and maybe whatever broad strokes they may have come up with for their world. And then you go and you flesh it out for them, and you deliver them a beautifully fleshed out, detailed world Bible for their story. And perhaps there are people who would pay for that. That could be a very fun way for you to use your skills and make some money, but do the thing that you love to do without the pressure of having to write the story. You know what I'm saying? You could also, tying into, I'm looking at my notes down here, please forgive me, tying into the idea of finding a writing partner, you could also hire a writing coach. I do that, but it doesn't have to be me. There are other writing coaches in the world. Find one whose personality and delivery suits your tastes, okay? And perhaps having a writing coach, just like having a coach at the gym or even a program to follow on a phone, can help make your gym progress more apparent, can help you actually progress when you're, where before you were just kind of spinning your wheels, kind of randomly going from machine to machine, not really enjoying it. Perhaps the coach can help give you a targeted and a direct, and also have the accountability. So they're bringing the help that you may need, the focus, help get you on the path for your story, but then also they can provide that accountability of like, I don't feel like sitting down and writing, but I know that I have a meeting with my writing coach this week and they're going to expect to see some pages. And sometimes you just need to push through. And I can understand it's not fun. Sometimes with practice, you forcing yourself to do this thing that you don't enjoy doing, even if it produces, stuff that you really hate and you never want the world to see, the more you do it, the less anxiety there is around it, the less of this, I believe. Now, this is what I've experienced in my life in certain areas where it was something that I thought I hated. It was something that I avoided, whatever this thing may be. But just doing it, eventually after just doing it and being consistent and just gritting my teeth, it became something that I didn't hate. And then it became something that I enjoy deeply. So, and that you start to feel confident in. So there's something to be said with, okay, just sit down and do it anyway, even if you don't write anything that you love. Maybe try writing some short stories within your world rather than creating a whole novel with this world. Maybe that would be more palatable, more digestible to write. Sorry for my notification sounds, but just write short stories that take place in the world, multiple ones, quick little vignettes of things that happen to people in your world. And you don't have to stay with any particular story for too long. The world could be one of the characters, and just kind of seeing how different people navigate whatever world you've developed. And then you don't have to now I'm locked in for a 300-400 page novel that I'm not really feeling. It's like, okay, I wrote a 3-page short story. I wrote a 10-page short story just to kind of feel it out. So those would be some of my suggestions for this issue. I'm going to move on to the next question and hopefully get through it more quickly than I did this one, because I just got to running off at the mouth, girl. The next one is from the r/writing subreddit. And they say they lost a lot of confidence in their writing. I had a rough day yesterday working on my second draft. I have over 800 pages to edit. It's my first major work, and it just doesn't seem like things are coming together. Characters don't progress like I want. I find myself coming up with scenes that feel out of place, and it's hard to juggle so many plot lines. I really don't know what to do, but I just feel so overwhelmed. I'm wondering if I took on too much for my first try. I really don't want to give up though. I'm passionate about this project and I want to see it completed. I feel like I've put this pressure on myself to have it finished sooner rather than later, but it's just causing me so much stress these days when things aren't working out. Have any other writers on here felt the way I'm feeling right now? So when I read that, to me, what it sounds like, and you let me know if you read this differently. To me, what it sounds like is they launched into this passion project that they love and they're so interested in this story, but perhaps they didn't do any or very minimal structural work or plotting before they actually started writing straight ahead. Now, I'm not trying to debate you on this. If you love writing straight ahead, do it. Do what works for you. I advocate for setting yourself up for success, making the process easier for you by doing the pre-production work of getting your story structure together, understanding your characters. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do a super detailed character description sheet for every character. I kind of like to do that, but to each their own. It may not even mean that you have to have every scene like completely plotted out before you start writing. But I think that everyone can benefit, or it sounds like this person here could have benefited from planning out the flow of the story, getting your major plot points, getting your major beats planned out, especially if it's a huge book, like if it's a huge series, a huge whatever magnum opus that you're creating, that could benefit from at least doing some rough sketches of the scenes that will be taking place within each plot line, breaking down, like, is this one massive 600 to 800 page book, or are you breaking this story into trilogies, which could make it more digestible, which is the word of the evening, apparently, breaking it down into more manageable chunks, right? But it sounds to me like they needed to do the character work. They needed to do the plotting work, because if you did character work, you would know how they're progressing within the story, right? If you did some plotting and some story structure work, even a little bit, you wouldn't necessarily be bogged down by a bunch of scenes that feel out of place and a bunch of plot lines that you can't juggle. I am a big fan of trimming the fat in a story, cutting what can be cut. That's not adding anything to the story. I like to streamline it. For some reason, that's just my particular taste. I don't like to just be labor, contrary to what it may seem like by the way that I talk here on these videos on this podcast. I do like a more streamlined story. I don't want a rushed story. I don't want a story that doesn't feel full and rich, but I don't want a bunch of extra stuff that doesn't need to be there, right? So maybe some of those plot lines need to be cut, or maybe those plot lines need to be put into their own story, a different book of this trilogy or whatever. They didn't say it's a trilogy, but put these plot lines in a different book. I think it could really benefit from streamlining. And what I would advise at this point, take a step back, take a breather, take a break, unless you have a publishing deadline, like you are working with like a traditional publishing house, or even like an independent publishing house, and they're like, we need to release this book by this date. There's nobody putting pressure on it but you, and when you want it to come out. So take a breath, take a breather, take a step away. Maybe if writing is what you love, maybe just write a short story, or think about one of your other stories for a little bit, or just don't do any story at all. just read and enjoy some content, and then come back to it with fresh eyes. And another suggestion I would say, and I don't know this person's financial situation is what it is, but I would say perhaps hire an editor. Save some money and hire someone to help you with the editing, to take the pressure off of, I have 800 pages that I need to edit and I'm just overwhelmed and I want to cry right now, and I love this story, but I don't think I can do it, and just all of the loss of confidence. Hire an editor if you can afford it. And if not, maybe just be like, okay, what I'm going to do is I have 800 pages and maybe this second draft isn't your second draft. Okay. Maybe it's like your 1.5 draft. Maybe you just have to bite the bullet and say, all right, this draft that I have, I'm just going to treat it like a repository of all of the ideas that I have for this world so far. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to backtrack. And this is why I like to do this before I start writing, because I don't like to backtrack. It feels inefficient to me. But now let me backtrack and let me construct the story structure. Let me figure out the plot. Let me get through all of my acts, depending on whatever story structure you are using. Go wild, whatever one you like. They're all kind of the same. I think we just all understand certain things differently, different explanations differently. Some are more detailed, some are more simplistic, whatever. Find a story structure that you like. Take what you have, and now let's do the big, broad strokes of the major plot points that you have, and let's get all the way through the main big rocks that happen in your story all the way up to the end. And then with all of the extra material that you have, also side note, do your characters, figure out your characters, go ahead and do that deeper work. Don't just be like, oh, they're 25 and they have, shiny green skin and their favorite food is, noodles, and they hate this and they can do magic. Let's get into their backstory. I'm not saying that that's what they did, but let's get deeper. Let's get more into their psyche. There are plenty of good, character sheets, world building sheets. I have some that I use. If I remember, I will link it below, a free one that I use with my clients. I made it free. I made a version for, anybody who wants it. I don't think I've linked it before, but this is what I use with my clients and with my own work to kind of start to understand characters in the world and things like that. And just go ahead and bite the bullet and say, I'm going to go back and do this structural work, because at the end of the day, I need to not be overwhelmed. And I need to make this manageable for myself, especially if you're not going to hire an editor who can help you do all of this. Okay. Then look at it with a critical eye. What can I cut? What plot lines can I save for another story? What is not working here? I would really suggest, and again, it doesn't have to be me, I would really, really suggest for this type of thing, if you can find someone who you can talk through this with and who can maybe help you with this, again, a writing coach or even a trusted family member or best friend who has a story brain, okay? Conscript them into service, okay, to help you with this. Bribe them with whatever their vice. No, don't do that, because some people got weirdo vices, I don't know. Offer to help them move when they need to move. Give them pizza or something like that. But those would be my suggestions for this. Take a breather, take a step back. Resign yourself to, I'm going to go back in and do the background work that I didn't do because I was just having fun writing straight ahead, and that was great. And this is you know what I do? Another tip that I want to do now. Listen, I don't know how you feel about this. Okay. I don't know how you feel about this. I have found that one of the approved uses of AI/Chat GPT that I actually really like is taking and organizing notes, transcripts, things like that. Side note, it might be good to just do an audio transcript of you talking through the story, just the things that you remember, the big plot points, and then organizing that, just the big things that stick in your brain when you're just talking through, without all the minutia of every miniature tiny plot line that ever came across your mind, and every conversation that the 50th character that you created ever had with the main character, whatever. That might be helpful too. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I'll be cutting myself off. What I would do with this person, if they came to me, is I would say, listen, we're about to embark on this project, and we're going to help ourselves, and we're going to make it easier. And if you are okay with this, this is going to be unique to each person. You may feel weird about it. This person may not want anything to do with AI, and so don't do it this way. There are other people who have no problem. Like a lot of the clients that I have right now have no problem with AI. They like it. I have more of a problem with AI than they do, okay, when it comes to these projects. So I'm always trying to direct them into more human-made stuff, but upload those pages into ChatGPT or something similar. I don't know all the other AIs that are out there. Give it very specific directions. You have to be specific, and you can't upload all 800 pages at once because it's gonna go out of control. Also, I don't think you can do that many words at once. Take it bit by bit, and it's gonna be maybe a multi-day, multi-week project. And you ask Chat to pull out only from what you've written. Do not tell it very specifically. Do not invent any information unless I tell you to. Do not invent any information. Do not extrapolate anything. Only take exactly what I'm uploading here, and I need it to be organized and be nice, be polite. I'm always polite with Chat. Please organize it in these areas. I need you to look for these particular things. Can you please find anything about this character and put it in a document? Can you please find anything about themes? Now, depending on how you've written this, if it's not notes, if it's all just straight ahead writing, it might be that Chat has to kind of like extrapolate or interpret what you've written if you haven't, specifically said, okay, these are the themes of my book, if that's something that you care about. This is the character backstory. This is, the world building specifically. It might have to extrapolate a little bit. It might have to interpret a little bit, but say only interpret what's here. I just want you to summarize what I've written into these particular categories because I need to create a document. And that could very well help you. And if you, depending on how deep you want to go with Chat, after you've gotten everything in there and you have organized it by all of the information that you would need to structure your story, you could even tell it, okay, Chat, based on what I've written here, can you tell me what my story structure is? I don't know if you want to let it do that much. Can you show me what is my story structure based on what I've uploaded here? You could let Chat be your editor. I hate suggesting it, believe me. But I also have used, I don't like Chat to create anything for me, okay? I just wanted to organize what I've already created because that's the part that I don't like. I don't love organizing. I kind of just want to talk and then take this transcript, girl, please. And then can you just organize what I said into these sections? And that has made the processes a lot quicker. So that would be what I would suggest for you to do, to use the tools, the very kind of like controversial tools that we have available, at our fingertips now. A lot of them free, a lot of them very inexpensive, to help you in this process. And then go to the gym, go for a walk, okay? Lift some weights. That helps. Walking also helps clear your mind. Eat food that is nourishing, okay, to help your brain think. Okay, don't get addicted to the processed food because it hijacks your brain sectional. Have a tea, have a massage, okay? Touch grass, as they say. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I want to go and touch grass. Go forest bathe, okay? Like they do in Japan, which I think is a delightful idea. And then return fresh-minded and do all the things that I told you to do just now. And I think that will help. Listen, I'm gonna stop. I've been talking for way too long. I've been talking for 30 minutes. And I love you down, as the kids say, for being here. Please, would you do something for me? Which one is it? Would you please enjoy your weekend? Also, can you do another thing for me? Would you please do something healthy for yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, your emotions this weekend? Don't stay glued to your phone all weekend. Would you please? Easier said than done. Believe me, I know. Okay. But let's get some fresh air. Unless you're in the areas that are snowed in, and I feel for you, walk around your house, girl, or maybe go out in the snow if it's not dangerous, because I don't know what's really happening. I'm way on the other side of the country. Where we're having quite the opposite type of weather. Not quite the opposite. Anyway, let me stop talking. I always just like run off at the mouth at the end. I love you. Okay. Have a great weekend. See you next time.